My son-in-law slid me a power of attorney at the estate mediation and placed his pen on top of it. He did it casually. That was the part I remember most. Bradley didn't shove the document at me. He didn't raise his voice. He just turned it around so the signature line faced my chair. "We've already covered the important parts," he said. "This just lets me handle the details." We were sitting in a conference room in the downtown Yankton. The room had beige walls and one narrow window. Someone had left a tray of bottled water near the door. Nobody had touched it. My daughter, Holly, sat beside her husband. Their daughter, Vicky, was at the far end of the table. My attorney, Patricia Ramos, sat on my right. The mediator, Clifford McDonald, had spent most of the morning trying to keep everybody calm. The document was 6 pages thick. Bradley tapped the pen with one finger. "Dad, please," Holly said. "Prairie Bluff can't hold the room forever." I looked at her. She had Marie's eyes. That still caught me off guard sometimes. "The deposit deadline is in 10 days, Holly continued. "We can't keep going in circles." I asked, "And this paper stops the circles?" Bradley gave me the patient smile people use with a confused customer. "It gives me authority to complete the arrangements. Banking, property, healthcare, the trust issues. It's broader than the earlier one, but that's necessary now. The earlier one." He said those words like we all agreed about what they meant. Vicky lowered her eyes to the table. She knew something was wrong. She didn't know everything yet, but she knew enough to stop looking at her father. Clifford leaned forward. "Robert, nobody can require you to sign during mediation." Bradley answered before I could. "Nobody is requiring him. We're trying to help him." Patricia had a closed folder beneath her hand. She didn't open it. Not yet. Bradley pushed the document another inch toward me. "Just sign where the flags are." That was the moment he believed he had me. He thought I was tired. He thought I was cornered. More than anything, he thought I didn't understand what had already been done in my name. My name is Robert Fleming, and I'm 71 years old. What city are you listening from today? To explain how my family ended up around that table, I need to go back to Walnut Street. That's where Marie and I lived for 36 years. It's a plain 2-story house with pale siding and a detached garage. The sidewalk lifts near the maple tree. I kept meaning to have it leveled, and Marie kept telling me the tree would win anyway. Our kitchen faced the backyard. Every morning, I sat at the same end of the table. Marie sat across from me with tea and toast. She didn't like coffee, but she always made mine first. After she died, I kept making 2 cups for nearly a month. I'd pour hers, set it near her chair, then realize what I'd done. I never told Holly that. I didn't want her studying every small habit like it meant I was falling apart. Marie died in 2022. She was 66. It happened quickly, though nothing about those last weeks felt quick. There were appointments, medication lists, and phone calls at bad hours. Then there was a quiet bedroom and a house full of people asking whether I needed anything. I always said no. That wasn't pride. At least, I didn't think it was. I could cook. I could drive. I paid the bills every Sunday evening. I still opened Fleming Machine Repair before 7 most mornings. I had buried my wife, but I hadn't forgotten how to live. The shop is on Broadway Avenue. I started it in 2002 in a rented garage with 1 bay and a floor drain that backed up whenever it rained hard. I repaired farm equipment, truck parts, pumps, and anything else somebody could carry through the door. For the first year, I did everything myself. I answered the phone with grease on my hands. Marie kept the books at our kitchen table. She could find a missing $12 faster than I could find a bad bearing. When business improved, we bought our own building. Then I added a 2nd bay, a proper office, and 2 employees. We never became wealthy. We became steady, which mattered more to us. The shop paid Holly's college tuition. It paid for braces, a used piano, and the wedding she wanted. It gave Marie and me enough to stop worrying every time the furnace made a noise. Holly was our only child. She married Bradley Hunt in 2009. Bradley worked at Prairie First Bank and Trust. He was neat, careful, and good with forms. He remembered interest rates the way I remembered thread sizes. When Holly first brought him to dinner, Marie said he looked like a man who ironed his socks. She didn't mean it as an insult. Bradley laughed harder than the joke deserved. That was one of his talents. He knew how to make people comfortable with him. For years, we got along well enough. He helped Marie compare insurance plans. He found Holly and himself a decent mortgage. He became a commissioned notary through the bank in 2015. If somebody at Thanksgiving needed a signature witnessed, Bradley was the man with the stamp. I trusted him because Holly trusted him. Their daughter, Vicky, was grown by the time Marie died. She worked as a teller at another Prairie First branch. Vicky had spent enough afternoons at my shop to know where I kept the vending machine key. She called me Grandpa, but she didn't treat me like an old man. If I forgot her coffee order, she reminded me. She didn't stare at me as if forgetting meant something larger. That difference became important later. After Marie's funeral, Holly started coming by more often. At first, I appreciated it. She brought soup in plastic containers and wrote the date on the lids. She changed the sheets upstairs, even though nobody slept there. She filled the refrigerator with yogurt I didn't like. You need easy food, she told me. I have eggs. Eggs aren't a plan. They've been a plan for a long time. She rolled her eyes, then kissed my cheek. That was still my daughter. Nothing felt dangerous yet. Bradley handled some of the paperwork after the funeral. There were insurance notices, hospital bills, and changes to joint accounts. He sat with me at the kitchen table and made 3 piles. Keep, pay, and call, he said. I know how mail works. I'm making it simpler. Marie's empty chair was beside him. I remember watching Bradley put envelopes into those piles and feeling grateful that somebody else was willing to touch them. There was one subject we left alone. Marie's parents had owned a small parcel of farmland near Gayville. It wasn't a huge farm. It was good ground, leased to a local farmer, with an old windbreak along the south edge. In 2018, Marie's parents placed that parcel in a small family trust. Holly was named as the eventual beneficiary. Marie wanted the land kept separate from everything else. She was clear about that. It came from my parents, she told me. Someday it goes to Holly. Until then, the lease income stays with the trust. I agreed. There wasn't much to argue about. After Marie died, Holly asked once whether the trust should be settled immediately. I said, there's no rush. Bradley was standing near the sink. He looked over. There may be tax advantages to moving sooner. Then we'll ask the trustee and an attorney. I can look at it. I'm sure you can. He went quiet after that. I didn't think much of it. The first year without Marie was mostly a series of ordinary problems. The downstairs toilet ran. A section of fence leaned after a storm. I burned a roast because I left it in the oven while answering a shop call. Holly worried about every one of those things. You shouldn't climb a ladder alone. I was on the second step. You could still fall. Then I'd fall a shorter distance. She didn't laugh. By the second year, her concern had changed. It wasn't about specific things anymore. It became a general condition. If I misplaced my reading glasses, she watched me find them. If I paused before remembering somebody's name, she finished it for me. If I didn't answer the phone, she called the shop. One Saturday morning, I was replacing a belt on the drill press when my foreman came over. Your daughter wants you to call. Did she say why? She said you weren't answering at home. I'm not at home. He shrugged. That's what I told her. I called Holly from the office. Are you all right? She asked. I'm at work. You didn't answer your house phone. That would be difficult from Broadway Avenue. There was a pause. You could have texted me. I didn't know I was reporting in. Dad, I'm not asking you to report in. What are you asking? I'm asking you not to make me worry. That's a hard sentence to answer. Anything you say sounds ungrateful. So I told her I was fine. I finished the drill press, went home, and found 3 missed calls on my landline. Bradley came over that evening. He brought burgers and sat at the kitchen table while I opened the wrappers. Holly's under pressure, he said. From me, from everything. He spread ketchup on his bun with the edge of a French fry. She feels responsible for you now. I haven't asked her to. That doesn't mean she doesn't feel it. I looked at him. What exactly does she think I can't do? Bradley sighed. Nobody said you can't do anything. You drove over here to discuss my abilities. I drove over here because you upset her. That turned the conversation around nicely. Suddenly, I was the problem because I had noticed the problem. I ate half the burger and wrapped the rest. Bradley watched me. Have you thought about simplifying? There's that word again. What word? Simplifying. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. It's not a dirty word, Robert. It usually means somebody else wants to decide what I need. I'm just talking about options. Which options? A smaller place, less maintenance, a community where help is available. I have a community. It's called Yankton. He leaned back. All right. Forget I mentioned it. I did forget it for about 3 weeks. Then I came home from the shop one Tuesday and found 2 senior living pamphlets on my kitchen table. They were glossy. One showed an older couple walking beside a pond. The other showed a dining room with cloth napkins and people laughing over salad. Prairie Bluff Senior. Living was printed across the top. I stood in the doorway with my keys still in my hand. Nobody had called me. Nobody had asked permission to enter. The back door was locked. Nothing looked disturbed. The mail sat in its usual basket near the refrigerator. I picked up the first pamphlet. A yellow note was stuck to the cover. Just worth a look. Love, Holly, I called her. She answered on the fourth ring. Hi, Dad. Were you at my house today? Just for a minute. How did you get in? I have the spare key. The key was supposed to be for emergencies. Marie had given it to Holly years earlier. What was the emergency? She was silent for a moment. I dropped off some information. I found it. Bradley brought the brochures home from work. A customer said, Prairie Bluff is nice. I'm sure it is. You don't have to sound angry. I'm standing in my kitchen, looking at plans for where you think I should live. They're brochures, Dad. That's all. Then take them home. Can you at least read them? No. Why not? Because I didn't ask for them. Her voice tightened. You don't ask for anything. That's the whole issue. I set the pamphlet down. What issue? You're alone in that house. I'm aware of who lives here. You work too much. You don't eat properly. Half the rooms are sitting empty. They're my rooms. I know they're your rooms. Then we agree. Dad, stop doing that. Doing what? Turning everything into an argument. I looked toward the back hallway. The door to Marie's sewing room was closed. I hadn't moved anything in there. Her cutting mat still covered the table. Spools of thread filled the wooden rack. A quilt she'd started was folded in the cedar hope chest. Holly knew that. Maybe that was why the pamphlets bothered me more than they should have. Moving wasn't just changing an address. It meant deciding what fit in a smaller room and what didn't. It meant strangers carrying Marie's things out through the front door. I'm not moving, I said. Nobody said you are. You left the place on my table. By accident, basically. Bradley had them, and I thought you might read them. That's not an accident. You know what I mean. No, I don't. She let out a long breath. I have to go. We'll talk later. We just talked. She hung up. I stood there for another minute. Then I took the pamphlets to the mudroom and put them on a shelf beside some old newspapers. I didn't throw them away. I wanted to remember they had been there. The following Sunday, Holly came for lunch. She brought a chicken casserole and acted as if our phone call hadn't happened. She wiped the counter while I made coffee. Did you look at the brochures? I looked at the covers. Prairie Bluff has private apartments. So does the state penitentiary. Oh, come on, you asked. She put the dish towel down. Bradley and I are trying to think ahead. About what? About what happens if something changes. Something always changes. You know what I mean? There it was again. She wanted me to understand something she wouldn't say plainly. I sat at the table. Tell me what you think is wrong with me. Her face changed. I don't think anything is wrong with you. Then why are we discussing where I should be placed? I didn't say placed. That's the word people use when they don't want to say moved. She pulled out the chair across from me. It was Marie's chair, though Holly probably didn't think of it that way. Dad, I watched Mom do everything for you. That stung because it wasn't true, but it wasn't completely false either. Marie and I divided our life in ways that had become invisible. She handled the house, Holly continued. She handled appointments. She handled your paperwork. I paid every bill that came through this door. Because she put it in front of you. I stared at her. She immediately softened her voice. I'm not criticizing you. I'm saying you were a team. We were. And now you're trying to be both people. That's usually what being widowed requires. Holly looked down at her hands. I miss her too. I believe that. I still do. For a few seconds, we were just sitting in the same loss. Then her phone buzzed. Bradley's name appeared on the screen. She turned it face down. He worries about you, she said. He has an unusual way of showing it. He sees things at the bank. What things? Older customers who wait too long. Bills get missed. Property taxes fall behind. Somebody takes advantage. My taxes are paid. I know. My account's balance, I know. My shop is profitable. She nodded. Then what does Bradley see? Holly stood and carried our cups to the sink. He sees what can happen. That answer stayed with me. Not what had happened. What could happen. I let the subject drop because I didn't want every visit to become a fight. We ate casserole. Holly asked about the shop. I asked about Vicky's new apartment. By the time she left, we were almost normal again. Then I went to the hall closet for a light bulb and noticed the spare house key wasn't hanging on its hook. I checked the kitchen drawer, the bowl near the phone, and the pocket of my work jacket. It wasn't there. I called Holly again. "Did you take the spare key?" "No. It's missing. Maybe you moved it." "I didn't." "Dad, you probably put it somewhere safe." I waited. She must have heard something in the silence. "I'm not saying you lost it," she added. "That's exactly what you said." I said, "Maybe you moved it." "Did Bradley take it?" "I don't know. He might have copied it when we were checking on the house after Mom died." "Why?" "In case you needed us." "I need you to give it back." "Fine. And any copies." "Fine, Dad." She sounded offended. 2 days later, Bradley dropped an envelope through the mail slot. It contained one key. There was no note. I changed the locks that Saturday. I didn't tell either of them. At that point, I still thought the problem was boundaries. Holly was worried. Bradley was pushy. I was stubborn. Families have survived worse. Then my bank statement failed to arrive. I kept a small desk in the front room. Every statement went into a blue folder after I checked it against my ledger. Prairie First usually mailed it during the first week of the month. By the 12th, it still wasn't there. I called the bank and gave the woman my account information. She typed for a moment. "That statement was mailed," she said. "It didn't come here." She confirmed my address. The street was correct. The city was correct. Then she read the mailing notation. "In care of Holly Hunt." I took my glasses off. "Why is my daughter's name on my statement?" There was another pause. "It appears she's listed as the correspondence contact." "Since when?" "I'd need to check the change record." "I never requested that." The woman lowered her voice. "Mr. Fleming, would you like me to transfer you to your account officer?" "Who is my account officer?" She hesitated again. "Bradley Hunt." I set my glasses on the desk. Outside, the mail truck rolled past my house without stopping. "Yes," I said. "Transfer me." The call rang twice before Bradley answered. "Prairie First, this is Bradley. It's Robert." His tone changed at once. "Hey, everything okay? I'm calling about my statements." "Which statements?" "The ones being sent to Holly." He didn't answer right away. I could hear a printer running behind him. "They aren't being sent to Holly," he said. "She's listed as a correspondence contact." "What's the difference?" "Your legal address is still Walnut Street." "Where does the envelope go?" "To Holly's address." "Then it's being sent to Holly." He gave a soft laugh. "It's just a backup arrangement." "Who arranged it?" "We talked about it after Marie passed." "No, we didn't." "I'm sure it came up." "It didn't." "Well, Holly may have asked me to make the change." "Did I ask you?" Another pause. "Robert, this isn't access to your money. It doesn't change ownership. It only makes sure somebody sees the paperwork." "I see my paperwork. I know you do." "Then change it back. I can submit that." "You're my account officer." "Change it back now. There are procedures." "Were there procedures when you changed it the first time?" His voice lost some warmth. "I was trying to help your daughter. You were handling my account. It's not as serious as you're making it sound." I looked at the empty section in my blue folder where that month's statement belonged. How many statements went to her? I'd have to check. "I have a meeting in a few minutes. I'll wait." He covered the receiver. At least, I assume he did. The office noise disappeared for about 30 seconds. When he returned, he said, "It looks like 2 cycles. Which accounts?" "Your personal checking and savings." "Anything from the shop?" "No." "Credit line notices?" "Those should still go to the business address." "Should?" "They do." "Change everything back to the addresses on the accounts." I said I'd take care of it, and send me written confirmation. "Robert, you don't need written confirmation. I need it because you changed the first thing without telling me." His chair squeaked. "All right, I'll send a letter." "To my house?" "Yes." "Not in care of Holly?" "No." I waited. He said, "Is there anything else?" "Not today." I hung up and wrote the date on a yellow pad. That was my first deliberate decision. I wasn't going to explain away the next odd thing. I wasn't going to let Holly's concern turn every question back on me. I would check what I could check, and I would write down what I found. The next morning, I opened the shop at 6:40. I set the thermostat, switched on the office lights, and made coffee in the stained 12-cup machine near the parts room. My foreman arrived around 7. "You're early," he said. "I own the place." "You're still early." I gave him the work orders, then drove to Prairie First before Bradley's schedule filled up. The main branch had a limestone front and 2 flagpoles. I had banked there since I opened the shop. I knew which entrance dragged in winter and which teller kept dog treats beneath her counter. A customer service representative named Sandra Pike met me at a small desk near the lobby. "What can I help you with, Mr. Fleming?" "I want a printed copy of my mailing preferences." "For one account?" "All of them." She asked for identification, then pulled up my profile. "I can confirm the addresses verbally. I want them printed." She glanced toward the offices behind her. "That may take a few minutes. I have a few." Sandra printed 6 pages. Most of the information was correct. My house remained the legal address on my personal accounts. The shop remained the address on the business accounts. At the bottom of the personal profile was an alternate mailing instruction: send paper statements to secondary correspondence contact. The contact was Holly. Beneath her name was her address across town. I pointed to it. "When was that added?" Sandra clicked through another screen. "August 22nd. "By whom?" "I can't usually disclose employee identification. It's my account." "I understand. Can you tell me whether I signed a request?" She looked through the scanned documents. "I'm not seeing a signed address change form." "What are you seeing?" "An internal profile maintenance entry. That means somebody at the bank typed it in." "Yes." "Who?" She studied the screen for a moment. "I should get my supervisor." "That's fine." Sandra disappeared through a locked door. While I waited, I saw Bradley crossing the far end of the lobby. He wore a gray suit and carried a travel mug. He noticed me, stopped, then kept walking. A woman named Elaine Mercer came out and introduced herself as the branch operations manager. She sat beside Sandra and turned the monitor slightly away from me. "Mr. Fleming, I understand you have a concern about a mailing instruction. I want to know how it was changed without my signature." Elaine spoke carefully. "Some routine profile changes can be accepted verbally. Was this one accepted verbally?" "The note says it was." "Who spoke with me?" She read the entry again. "It doesn't say." "Who entered it?" Elaine glanced toward Bradley's office. "The maintenance was completed by your account officer, Bradley Hunt." "Yes." "What does the note actually say?" She hesitated, then read it aloud. "Client requested family assistance with financial correspondence." "I didn't request that. I can remove it today." "That's not what I asked." "I understand." "Does the bank record calls?" "Some departments do. Branch calls generally aren't recorded. So there's no signed form and no recorded call, not that I can see." "What proof do you have that I requested it?" Elaine folded her hands. "The employee note is the record." I leaned back. "An employee note written by my son-in-law was being treated as proof that I had told my son-in-law to redirect my mail." "Print that page too," I said. "I'm not able to give you the internal screen." "Then write me a letter stating when the change was made, what changed, and that there's no signed request attached." She considered that. "I can confirm the current mailing instructions." "That avoids the question." "Mr. Fleming, if you're alleging employee misconduct, I can provide a complaint form. I'm asking for facts." Sandra kept her eyes on the desk. Elaine lowered her voice. "Bradley told me you already spoke with him." "I did. He said this was a family misunderstanding." "Did he tell you I authorized the change?" "He said Holly requested it for your convenience." "That's different from me requesting it." Elaine looked back at the monitor. "Yes, it is. That was my small confirmation." Bradley hadn't misunderstood an instruction. He had accepted Holly's instruction in place of mine, then entered the bank record as if the request came from me. Elaine removed the alternate contact while I watched. She printed the corrected profile and stamped each page with the branch date. "I'll review the prior change," she said. "Will I get the result? If we identify an error affecting your account, we'll contact you. There is an error affecting my account." She gave me her card. "I'll look into it." As I stood, Bradley appeared beside the desk. "There you are," he said. "I was going to call you." Elaine gathered the papers near her keyboard. "I've corrected Mr. Fleming's mailing profile." Bradley looked at me. "I told you I'd handle that." I decided to handle it myself. His eyes moved to the pages in my hand. "You didn't need to come down here. It's my bank. Nobody said it wasn't." Elaine excused herself. Sandra became very interested in her computer. Bradley touched my elbow. "Come into my office." I moved my arm away. "I have to get back to work. This will take 2 minutes. I've already used 20. His smile remained, but his face hardened around it. You're making people nervous. Who? The staff. I asked for my own information. You accused the bank of changing your account without permission. The bank did change it without permission. He looked around the lobby. Keep your voice down. I hadn't raised it. That was when I noticed the first trick. Bradley wasn't answering what I said. He was managing how I appeared while saying it. I lowered my voice anyway. Did Holly ask you to redirect my statements? Yes. Why did the note say I requested it? It's standard wording. Is it true wording? He rubbed the side of his travel mug with his thumb. You've been under a lot of stress since Marie died. Did I request the change? You said you wanted Holly involved. When? During the estate paperwork. Where were we? At your house, probably. Who else was there? I don't remember every conversation from 3 years ago. The change was made last August. His mouth tightened. I'm trying to protect you. From what? Missed bills, fraud, bad decisions. Whose bad decisions? He stared at me. Then he stepped closer and spoke quietly. If you start filing complaints over every small misunderstanding, people may think you're getting confused. There it was. Not a threat exactly. It was softer than that. A suggestion. A door he wanted me to notice. I folded Elaine's papers once and put them inside my jacket. Then, it's good I brought identification. I walked out before he could answer. At the shop, I locked myself in the office and read every page again. The correction was clear. Paper statements would return to Walnut Street with no secondary contact. I made a copy for the shop safe. Then I called Holly. She answered while chewing something. Can I call you back? No. I need to ask you one question. What? Did you ask Bradley to send my bank statements to your house? The chewing stopped. I asked him if there was a way I could help keep track. That wasn't my question. Dad, did you ask him? Yes. Why didn't you ask me? Because you would have said no. Correct. That's exactly why. I sat down behind my desk. You received 2 statements, I guess. Did you open them? I don't know. Maybe. You don't know if you opened my mail? Bradley looked at them. That was worse, though I didn't tell her. Where are they now? At the house somewhere. Bring them to the shop. I'm working. After work. Why are you acting like I stole something? I'm asking for my unopened bank statements. They weren't unopened. We both went quiet. Finally, I said, bring every page. She arrived shortly after 5. Bradley wasn't with her. Holly came into the office carrying a grocery bag. She placed it on my desk. I couldn't find the envelopes, she said. Inside were 2 statements, both removed from their envelopes. One had yellow highlighting across several purchases. I held it up. Did you do this? Bradley did. He had highlighted a hardware store charge, a restaurant bill, and a cash withdrawal. The hardware charge was for grinding discs and a new vise. The restaurant bill was dinner with Dustin. The cash paid a plumber who had replaced the kitchen faucet. Beside the withdrawal, Bradley had written, Ask Dad. I turned the page toward Holly. Did you ask me? No. Did you think the money was missing? We didn't know. You could have called. You get defensive. Somebody opened my statement and marked it like evidence. That's not fair. What would be fair? She pulled out the chair across from my desk. You don't see what this is like for me. What is it like? I'm the only one. The only what? The only person who can take care of things if you can't. I can, for now. I put the statement down. Has a doctor told you something about me? No. Has anybody at the shop? No. Has Vicky? No. Then where is this coming from? She crossed her arms. Bradley sees this all the time. People think they're managing fine until something happens. So, this is Bradley. It's both of us. Did he tell you changing my mail was legal? He said it was routine. Did he tell you I approved it? Holly looked toward the window. He said you wanted me involved after Mom died. I wanted you informed about her estate. That isn't permission to open my bank statements. You're twisting it. No, I'm separating it. She stood. I brought the papers. Can I go now? You could have asked me. I knew what you'd say. That still isn't permission. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. You're making me feel like a criminal for worrying about my father. I'm asking you to act like my daughter, not my supervisor. She grabbed her purse. Maybe if you accepted help, nobody would have to push. She left the door open behind her. I heard her car start in the parking lot. I didn't follow. For the first time since Marie died, Holly and I had ended a conversation without saying goodbye. I stayed at the shop until nearly 7. I checked the statement line by line. Nothing was missing. The balances were right. The cash withdrawal matched my ledger. That almost made the whole thing feel smaller. No money had been taken. No checks had been forged. Bradley and Holly had only moved the statements, opened them, and discussed how I spent my own money. But I kept returning to Bradley's words. People may think you're getting confused. I wrote them on the yellow pad exactly as I remembered them. The following morning, I rented a post office box near the shop. I changed the mailing address on my personal bank accounts, insurance policies, and investment statements. I left the house as my legal address, but sensitive mail would go somewhere only I could open. I called the county treasurer and confirmed where my property tax notices were sent. Walnut Street was still listed. I called the company handling the Gayville Trust. The woman verified my contact information, then said, "We also have Holly Hunt listed for informational copies." That's correct. The trust concerns her. Would you like that removed? No. I wasn't trying to punish Holly. I was trying to find the line between what she had a right to see and what she had simply decided to see. Next, I checked the shop's insurance, payroll service, and business mailing address. All were correct. I asked my bookkeeper, Linda Shaw, whether anybody had contacted her about my accounts. She looked surprised. Bradley called a few months ago. What did he want? He asked how involved you still were in daily operations. What did you say? I said you sign every payroll report and complain when I use blue ink. I smiled despite myself. What did he say? He laughed. Then he asked whether we had a succession plan. We don't. That's what I told him. Did he ask for documents? No. He wanted to know who could make decisions if you got sick. What did you tell him? To ask you. Linda removed her glasses. Was I not supposed to mention that? You just did. She watched me write the date on my pad. Robert, is something wrong? I don't know yet. That afternoon, I bought a black composition notebook from the pharmacy. I copied every date from the yellow pad into it. I included the pamphlets, the missing key, the bank statement, and Bradley's call to Linda. I kept the wording plain. I didn't write what I felt. I wrote what happened. At home, I placed the notebook in the locked drawer of Marie's sewing table. She had kept her good scissors there, because Holly used to borrow them and leave them in the kitchen. The little brass key was still taped beneath the table. I sat in Marie's chair and looked around the room. Her cedar hope chest rested beneath the window. A row of quilting spools stood on the shelf, arranged from pale yellow to dark blue. I picked up one blue spool and rolled it between my palms. Marie used to say, "If something doesn't line up, don't pull harder. Stop and see where it shifted." I hadn't listened often enough when she was alive. Now, I put the spool beside the black notebook, locked the drawer, and returned the key beneath the table. The mail change might have been small. Bradley certainly wanted it to seem small, but it had confirmed something I could no longer ignore. My daughter and her husband weren't waiting for me to need help. They were already making decisions as if I had asked. 3 Thursdays later, Holly arrived at my house with a man carrying a leather folder. I had come home early because freezing rain was starting. The shop crew could handle the last 2 jobs without me. I was in the mudroom taking off my boots when the doorbell rang. Holly stood on the porch. The man beside her wore a tan coat and a Prairie first name badge. "Dad, this is Curtis Bell," she said. "He helps bank customers with financial wellness." Curtis offered his hand. "Nothing complicated, Mr. Fleming. I'm here for a courtesy visit." I kept one hand on the door. Did I schedule one? Holly glanced at Curtis. We did. Who is we? Bradley thought it would be useful. The freezing rain clicked against the porch railing. Curtis shifted his folder beneath his arm. "This should take 20 minutes, he said. "What does financial wellness mean?" "We talk about household routines, bill payment, planning, and personal safety." "Are you a bank employee?" "I consult with financial institutions." That wasn't my question. "No, I'm independent." Holly rubbed her hands together. "Can we do this inside?" I almost said no. Then I thought about the notebook upstairs. If I sent Curtis away, I would only know they had brought him. If I let him speak, I might learn why. I stepped aside. Curtis wiped his shoes and followed us into the kitchen. Holly removed her coat without asking where to put it. She hung it on the chair where Marie used to leave her sweater. Curtis sat at the table and opened his folder. The first page had my name printed across the top. I remained standing. Where did you get my information? Holly provided the basic contact details. I looked at her. She said, "It's your name and address, Dad. It's not a secret." Curtis smiled as if he dealt with this kind of tension every day. "There's no need for concern. This isn't a sales call. What are you selling when it isn't a sales call? Peace of mind, mostly." "For whom?" His smile weakened. "Why don't we sit down?" I took my usual chair. Holly sat across from me. Curtis placed himself between us. He started with ordinary questions. Did I prepare my own meals? Did I drive after dark? Had I fallen within the past 6 months? Did I ever forget to turn off the stove? I answered directly. Yes, yes, no, and no. Then the questions changed. What bills do you pay each month? All the ones with my name on them. Can you give me a few examples? Electricity, gas, insurance, property tax, telephone. How do you keep track? A ledger, paper, or electronic? Paper. Curtis made a check mark. Do you know roughly what day of the month your electric bill is due? The 23rd? And your mortgage? I don't have one. He wrote something else. Holly watched every answer. Curtis asked, Do you manage any business obligations? I own a machine shop. Are you still actively involved? I was there this morning. What kind of decisions do you make there? Hiring, payroll, estimates, equipment purchases, customer credit. That's a lot to manage. It's my work. Do employees assist you with those decisions? Employees do their jobs. I do mine. He checked another box. I watched his pen. He made marks when I answered and different marks when I questioned him. Then he looked toward the calendar beside the refrigerator. Without checking the wall, can you tell me today's date? Holly stared at the table. I said, Thursday, December 4th. And where are we? In my kitchen. Curtis gave a polite laugh. I mean the city. Yankton County? Yankton County, he wrote again. I reached across the table and placed 2 fingers on the top edge of his folder. What form are you filling out? A wellness assessment. Let me see it. It's just my working document. It has my name on it. I'll review the recommendations with everyone when we finish. Everyone? You and your family. I looked at Holly. Who receives the report? She said, Dad, let him finish. Who receives it? Curtis closed the folder. The referring party receives a summary. Who is the referring party? Holly and Bradley. It was the first honest answer I'd received since they arrived. I pushed my chair back. This visit is over. Holly's head came up. You agreed to talk to him. I agreed to hear what he wanted. You've barely given him a chance. He asked whether I know where I am. It's standard. For what? Curtis slipped his pen into the folder. These questions help determine whether somebody might benefit from support. What support? Bill monitoring, home services, transportation, future housing. Prairie Bluff? Holly's cheeks colored. That's one option. I looked at Curtis. Were you asked to determine whether I should move? I was asked to assess independent living needs. Were you asked to assess whether I can make financial decisions? Curtis didn't answer. That was enough. I stood and carried his coat from the hallway. Holly remained seated. If you refuse every conversation, she said, how are we supposed to know you're okay? You could visit me without bringing a stranger to test me. Nobody is testing you. He asked the date. So what? You knew it. That isn't the point. She looked toward Curtis for help. He rose and took his coat. This kind of conversation can feel intrusive, he said. It's often easier if we reschedule after everyone has had time to prepare. We won't reschedule. I'll note that you declined to complete the assessment. Note that I was never told what it was. He tucked the folder against his chest. I don't want to increase the conflict. Then don't write a report about me for people who brought you here under a bank name. Curtis nodded once. He walked to the door and stepped onto the porch. Holly followed him as far as the hallway, then turned back. You embarrassed me. In my house? He was trying to help. He was evaluating me. Because you won't let anybody know what's going on. What do you think is going on? You're suspicious of everyone. You changed the locks. You rented a post office box. You made a complaint at Bradley's branch. I hadn't told her about the post office box. Who told you about my mail? Bradley saw the address change. He's still monitoring my account. He's your account officer. Not anymore. Her expression changed. You can't punish him for doing his job. I can choose who handles my money. He has helped you for years. That doesn't make the account his. She picked up her coat. You're proving our point. What point? That you're making impulsive decisions because you're angry. Changing an account officer is impulsive? After one misunderstanding, yes. It wasn't one. She put on her coat and pulled her hair from beneath the collar. If Curtis writes that you refused, Bradley says that could matter later. Later when? She opened the door. If we need to show we tried. The cold came into the hallway. Tried to do what, Holly? She looked tired all at once. To keep you safe. Then she left. I watched from the window as Curtis climbed into Holly's car. They sat there for several minutes before driving away. I went upstairs and unlocked the sewing table drawer. Under that day's date, I wrote Curtis's name and the words he had used. Independent living needs, financial decisions, refused to complete assessment, referring party, Holly and Bradley. I underlined that last part once. The following morning, I called Prairie First's customer service number instead of the branch. I asked whether the bank offered in-home financial wellness assessments. The representative put me on hold. When she returned, she said, "We have educational appointments at some branches, but we don't send consultants into customers' homes. Does the bank work with Curtis Bell? I'm not finding that name. He wore a Prairie First badge. Was it an employee badge? It had the bank's name on it. Could it have been a visitor badge?" I pictured it again. The plastic card had Prairie First printed along the top. Beneath that was Curtis's name. A smaller line said, "Community Partner." It might have been. We do allow approved community partners to give presentations. That wouldn't make him a bank representative. Can an employee refer a customer without the customer's consent? I can't answer without knowing the service. I thanked her and hung up. Curtis had left a business card on the kitchen table. The company was called Independent Pathways Consulting. The card listed senior placement, home safety reviews, family care planning, and functional assessments. It didn't mention financial wellness. I called the number. A receptionist answered. "I had a visit from Curtis Bell yesterday," I said. "I want a copy of whatever he was asked to evaluate." "Are you the client?" I was the person being evaluated. She asked my name, then placed me on hold. Curtis came on the line. "Mr. Fleming, I'm sorry yesterday became uncomfortable. Who hired you?" I explained that. "Holly and Bradley?" "Yes." "Who signed your agreement?" "Holly." "Who is paying you?" "I can't discuss our billing arrangement." "Does your form assess competency?" "It isn't a legal competency evaluation." "That wasn't my question." He paused. "It includes questions about decision-making and daily function." "Will you send the report to Bradley?" "I provide a summary to the referring family. Even though I didn't agree to be assessed, you participated in part of the interview. I let you into my kitchen because you presented yourself as connected to my bank. I never said I was employed by Prairie First. You let Holly say you handled financial wellness for bank customers. That is work I sometimes do. Send me a copy of every page with my name on it. I'll need authorization from the person who retained us. The person who retained you is writing about me. I understand your concern. No, you understand your contract." He went quiet. I said, "Don't come to my property again. I'll make a note." "I'm sure you will." I hung up. By lunchtime, Bradley called the shop. Linda told him I was busy. He called my personal phone 30 seconds later. I answered in the parts room. "You upset Curtis," he said. "Curtis will recover. He's a respected consultant. He isn't a bank employee. I never said he was. You put the bank's name around his neck. It was a community partner badge. Why didn't Holly say he was hired to assess whether I can live alone?" "Because you react exactly like this." "Like what?" "Hostile, suspicious, uncooperative." I looked through the parts room window. Linda was matching invoices at her desk. 2 mechanics were moving a pump housing with the overhead hoist. Everyone was doing what they were supposed to do. "What were you planning to do with his report?" I asked. "Discuss options. With me, with the family. Before or after me?" He sighed. "We can't keep tiptoeing around your pride. This isn't about pride." "Then finish the assessment." "No." "See, that's the problem. What happens if I don't?" His tone changed. It became calmer. "If Holly genuinely believes you're unable to manage safely, she may need legal guidance." "What kind of legal guidance?" "A competency petition, a court-ordered evaluation, something formal." He said it as if he were listing furnace repairs. "Has Holly spoken to an attorney?" "I'm not discussing private conversations with my wife. You called me to give you a chance to avoid all that." I leaned against the parts shelf. Are you threatening to have me declared incompetent? Nobody used that word. You just used competency petition. That's a process, Robert. It doesn't prejudge the result. So, you hired a man to question me without telling me why, and now my refusal may be used to start a process. We arranged a voluntary assessment. You chose to make it difficult. I could hear him tapping something on his desk. Finish it, he said. Let Curtis confirm you're fine. This can go away. If you believed he'd confirm that, you would have told me what he was doing. Bradley stopped tapping. You should think carefully about how your behavior looks to other people. Then he ended the call. I stood in the parts room until one of the mechanics asked whether I needed the shelf behind me. That afternoon, I called my doctor's office. I want a complete physical, I told the receptionist. And I want whatever memory screening the doctor considers appropriate. She offered an appointment the following week. I took it. Dustin drove down from Mitchell that morning and met me outside the clinic. I hadn't asked him to come inside. I wanted somebody to see when I arrived and how I left. He studied me across the hood of his truck. You expecting bad news? I'm expecting paperwork. That sounds worse. Inside, my doctor checked my medications, blood pressure, vision, balance, and reflexes. Then he gave me a short cognitive screening. I repeated words. I drew a clock. I counted backward. I identified the date, city, and place without looking at a wall. When we finished, he set down his pen. Your screening is normal. Put that in my chart. It will be. I want a copy. He looked at me more closely. Is somebody questioning your capacity? My family is asking questions. Do you want me to speak with them? No. That answer surprised him. I want the record first, I said. He printed the visit summary before I left. I gave one copy to Dustin and kept one for the sewing table drawer. In the parking lot, Dustin read the first page. You didn't tell me Holly was involved. I didn't tell you much. Are you going to? When I understand it. He folded the papers carefully. You know I'll help. I know. Then why are you keeping me outside? Because I don't want this becoming a family argument before I know what it is. Dustin handed the copy back. You want me to keep it? Yes. He placed it inside his truck's glove compartment. All right. When I returned to the shop, Vicky's car was parked near the side entrance. She was waiting in my office with both hands around a paper cup. Her Prairie First identification badge was still clipped to her sweater. Grandpa, she said, can we talk somewhere nobody else can hear? I closed the office door. She waited until the latch clicked. Then she said, something crossed my screen at work, and I don't think Dad expected me to see it. Vicky set her cup on the corner of my desk. It was an advance against the shop's line of credit. How much? $85,000? I waited for her to correct herself. She didn't. When? Last Friday. Which account received it? I couldn't see that part. Why did it cross your screen? A business customer from your shop made a deposit at our branch. When I pulled up the account relationship, there was an exception notice attached. What kind of exception? Large credit advance. It required a secondary review because the person requesting it wasn't listed as an owner. I sat behind my desk. Who requested it? She looked toward the closed door. Dad? Bradley? Are you sure? His employee number was attached to the referral. The authorization said, agent. What does agent mean? Someone acting for the borrower. I'm the borrower. I know. I didn't request an advance. Vicky pushed the paper cup away. That's why I came here. Did you open the file? No, I couldn't without a business reason. I saw the exception header and closed it. Did anybody see you? I don't think so. Don't look again. Her eyes widened. Grandpa, there's $85,000 against your building. I heard you. You need to call the bank. I will. Today. I looked at the clock. It was almost 4:30. If you call from here, Dad might answer. Then I won't call from here. She twisted a paper napkin between her fingers. I could lose my job for telling you. You saw something on my account and informed the account holder. I'm not assigned to your relationship. You didn't print anything? No. You didn't write anything down? No. Then you came to see your grandfather after work. She nodded. Did your father tell you about the consultant? No. Mom did. She said you refused an assessment. Did she tell you what kind? She said it was to see what help you needed. What did you think? I thought if you wanted help, you'd ask. I got up and moved around the desk. Go home. Don't discuss this with either of them. Mom will ask where I was. Tell her you stopped at the shop. That isn't a lie. No. She picked up her cup. What are you going to do? Get my own records. Please don't tell them I warned you. I won't. She reached the door, then stopped. Grandpa? Yes? You didn't borrow that money, did you? No. Her face went pale. All right, she said. I needed to hear you say it. After she left, I called Linda into the office. Pulled a line of credit ledger. She sat at the second desk and signed into the accounting system. Our internal ledger or the bank portal? Both. The internal ledger showed no new borrowing. The bank portal showed the balance we expected, but the date beside it was 3 days old. Linda refreshed the page. A red message appeared. Current balance temporarily unavailable. Contact relationship officer. She tried again. The same message returned. That's never happened before, she said. Print the screen. She did. Do you want me to call Bradley? No. Is this related to what you asked me before? I don't know. That wasn't completely honest, but I still needed to protect Vicky. I placed the printout with my other papers and locked the office safe. That evening, I drove past the main Prairie First branch. Bradley's office light was on. His car sat near the employee entrance. I kept driving. I didn't sleep much. Around midnight, I went downstairs and opened the shop loan folder at my desk. The original line was secured by the Broadway Avenue building and some equipment. It gave us flexibility when customers paid late. The limit was $125,000. I had used it twice. Both times, I repaid it within 3 months. An $85,000 advance wasn't something a bank employee could mistake for a routine charge. At 8 the next morning, I entered Prairie First through the side doors. Elaine was speaking with a teller. When she saw me, she excused herself and walked over. Did the mailing correction hold? She asked. I need a complete copy of my business loan file. Her expression became careful. Is there a particular document you need? Every document involving the line of credit. That file is maintained by commercial lending. Then call commercial lending. Your account officer can assist you. I'm replacing my account officer. Have you submitted that request? I'm submitting it now. Elaine led me to a conference room off the lobby. I'll get the form. Bring the current balance too. She stopped at the door. Is there a problem with the balance? That's what I'm checking. I waited alone for nearly 15 minutes. Through the glass wall, I saw Elaine enter Bradley's office. He stood when she spoke to him. I turned my chair so my back faced the lobby. Elaine returned with a manila folder. Loan operations is assembling the full file, she said. I can provide the account activity now. She placed a transaction sheet in front of me. The outstanding balance was $85,000. The advance date matched what Vicky had seen. The description read, Agent requested draw. Documentation on file. Where did the money go? I asked. The advance funded through an internal disbursement. To which account? I need loan operations to confirm that. Was it deposited into the shop account? No. My personal account? No. Then where is my money? Elaine sat across from me. It's borrowed money, Mr. Fleming. It's secured by my property. Where did it go? She read the screen on her tablet. The proceeds were issued according to written instruction from an authorized agent. Show me the instruction. I'm requesting it. Who is the agent? Her eyes moved toward the glass wall. I believe you know. I want you to say it. Bradley Hunt. Why does Bradley have authority to borrow against my shop? There's a power of attorney in the file. I said nothing. Elaine must have seen something in my face. You're aware of that document, correct? Bring me a copy. I'll have to confirm release with legal. It has my name on it. I understand. Then bring me my document. She left the room again. I looked through the glass. Bradley's office door was closed now. The blinds had been lowered. After 20 minutes, Elaine returned with a thin stack of paper and an acknowledgement form. Loan operations can provide these copies today, she said. The remaining file will be available within 5 business days. I signed only the line confirming receipt. The first page was titled, Durable Power of Attorney. My name appeared as principal. Bradley Hunt appeared as agent. The document granted authority over bank accounts, business borrowing, contracts, and personal property. It did not cover real estate transfers or healthcare decisions, but it gave Bradley more than enough authority to request the credit advance. I turned to the signature page. Someone had written my name in blue ink. It looked like my signature if you only saw it once. The capital R leaned too far forward. The line beneath Fleming stopped short. I always carried that line under the final letters. Below the signature was a notary block. State of South Dakota. County of Yankton. The date was in March of 2024. The notary was Bradley Hunt. His seal was stamped beside his name. Elaine watched me read it. Was the original signed here? I asked. Our file notes say the original was presented by the agent. The bank retained a copy. Who has the original? Mr. Hunt. Was anybody from the bank present when I signed? The notarization certifies your appearance. That isn't what I asked. I don't see another witness listed. I turned back to the first page. Who accepted this into the file? The relationship officer. Bradley accepted his own document? It was reviewed through normal procedures. By whom? There's a secondary approval code from loan operations. Did they speak with me? I don't know. Did anyone call me before the $85,000 was drawn? Our records show a contact waiver based on agent authority. Entered by Bradley? She didn't answer. I gathered the pages and placed them in the manila folder. Elaine leaned forward. Mr. Fleming, do you dispute the document? I looked at the fake signature again. If I said yes in that room, Bradley would know before I reached my truck. I had no idea what else he had done, or what explanation he had prepared. I'm reviewing my file, I said. She seemed uncertain. If you believe in advance was unauthorized, we have a fraud process. I'll let you know. The loan continues to accrue interest. I understand. Would you like us to restrict further draws? That question mattered. Yes, I can place a temporary owner-requested hold. It won't invalidate an agent's authority, but it will require additional review. Do that. I'll need your signature. She brought a one-page form. I read it twice before signing. Elaine made a copy. Bradley may be notified of the hold. That's the bank's decision. He's also your son-in-law. I'm aware. As I left, Bradley opened his office door. Robert. I kept walking. Robert, wait. I reached the lobby. He caught up near the entrance. Elaine said you requested a hold. I requested my loan file. You could have come to me. I did that with the statements. His jaw tightened. Let's talk privately. Not today. You're going to create a problem if you freeze normal activity. Whose normal activity? He looked at the tellers. Lower your voice. Again, I hadn't raised it. I have work, I said. You need to understand that account changes can have consequences. So, can account activity. His face went still. For 1 second, I thought he knew exactly what I had found. Then the customer entrance opened behind me. I stepped outside and walked to my truck. I drove straight to the shop. In my office, I locked the door and laid the power of attorney beneath the desk lamp. I compared the signature with the one on the original loan agreement. The differences became clearer side by side. I took out the black notebook and copied the date, March 18th, 2024. Something about it bothered me beyond the signature. I opened my phone calendar. I didn't have entries that far back. Then I remembered the photograph Dustin had sent me that spring. He had complained because I held a walleye too close to the camera. I searched our message thread. The photograph was dated March 19th. We were standing near the Missouri River outside Chamberlain. I called Dustin. He answered with, "You finally ready to tell me what's happening? Where were we on March 18th of last year?" He didn't respond immediately. Why? Fishing. We fish more than once a year. Chamberlain. The trip when the motel heater rattled. That was March. Which days? I'd have to check. Check now. I heard a chair move. What's this about, Robert? I have a document that says I signed something in Yankton on March 18th. Then the document is wrong. You're sure? Yes. How? Because the 18th was Monday. We drove up Sunday night. You complained the whole way because I booked that cheap motel. I looked at the notary block. Do you have proof? I might have the credit card charge. I need more than a charge. You kept the fishing paperwork, remember? You put everything in the clear pocket of your tackle box. The tackle box was in my garage. I opened it on the workbench. The clear pocket held hooks, 2 faded bait receipts, and an expired fishing regulation booklet. No motel receipt. I called Dustin again. It's not here. You had 2 boxes. The green one went with us. The green box was stored behind the seat of my truck. I pulled it out and found the clear plastic pocket beneath a tray of sinkers. Inside was a folded motel receipt. Check-in was March 17th. Check-out was March 20th. A fishing license was folded behind it. It had been printed at a sporting goods counter in Chamberlain on the morning of March 18th. I held both papers beneath the garage light. They showed I had been in Chamberlain, but I wanted to see the place again. I wanted no chance of remembering the wrong trip. Dustin met me in the motel parking lot the next morning. He had driven west from Mitchell. I had driven north from Yankton with the tackle box on the passenger's seat. The motel had changed its sign, but the building was the same. The room doors opened directly onto the parking lot. A metal staircase climbed along the north wall. Dustin pointed to the second floor. We were up there. Room 214. You remember the number? I remember carrying your cooler up those stairs. We went inside. The woman at the desk couldn't release old records without a formal request, but she examined the receipt. That's one of ours, she said. The confirmation number matches our format. Would your system still have the stay? Probably archived, I thanked her. Outside, Dustin leaned against my truck. Now tell me what you supposedly signed. I handed him the copy. He read the first page, then the signature block. That isn't your signature. I know. Bradley notarized it. That's what it says. He's claiming you appeared in front of him that Monday? Yes. Dustin tapped the motel receipt. You were here. We ate breakfast across the road. Then we bought your license because you left the other one at home. I remember. We were on the water before noon. You didn't drive 3 hours back to Yankton, sign this, and return without me noticing. No. He looked at me over the document. Does Holly know? Not from me. You need a lawyer. I folded the power of attorney and put it back in the envelope. Until that morning, I had believed Bradley was pushing into my life because he wanted control before I declined. Now I knew he hadn't been waiting for me to decline. He had already signed my name, borrowed against my shop, and left me responsible for $85,000 I had never seen. I called Patricia Ramos from the motel parking lot. Her assistant offered me an appointment the following week. I said, "Tell her I have a power of attorney I never signed." The assistant became quiet. Then she said, "Can you come in tomorrow morning?" "Yes," I said. "I'll be there." Patricia's office occupied the second floor of a brick building near the courthouse. I arrived 15 minutes early with the bank file, the motel receipt, the fishing license, and my black notebook. She read the power of attorney without interrupting. When she reached the signature page, she placed my fishing license beside it. You were in Chamberlain on this date, from Sunday night through Wednesday. Your brother was with you? The whole time. And you never signed this document? I never saw it until yesterday. Did you ever discuss appointing Bradley as your agent? No. Did you sign anything at the bank around this time? No. She examined the fake signature again. The notarization gives the bank a reason to presume this is valid. That doesn't mean it is valid. It means we need more than your word against his. I have the motel receipt. That proves you were registered in Chamberlain. Your brother's statement helps. The fishing license helps. We'll need the bank's full file and the original document. Bradley has the original. That's convenient for Bradley. She made copies of everything. Then she asked, "Why would he borrow $85,000 against your shop?" "I don't know. Where did the money go?" "The bank says an internal disbursement. Did you receive any benefit from it?" "Not that I know of." "Has Bradley asked you to reimburse him for anything?" "No." "Has Holly mentioned a large expense?" "No." Patricia closed the bank folder. We start there. Motive matters, but we don't guess at it. She drafted a letter while I sat across from her. It demanded the complete loan file, the disbursement instructions, and the transaction destination. It also told the bank to preserve every record tied to the power of attorney. She didn't send anything to Bradley. "Not yet," she said. "I want to know what he put in the bank's file before he starts explaining it." "What about revoking the document?" "We will. First, I need to see whether it has been filed or presented anywhere else. Every day it stays active, he can do something. The hold limits the bank account activity. I'll send a separate notice confirming that you dispute all agent authority. But a revocation should be done correctly and delivered everywhere the original might have traveled." I nodded. She tapped the power of attorney. "This document doesn't give him unlimited control. It gives him banking and contract authority. It doesn't let him sell your real estate or make healthcare decisions. So he can borrow against the shop, but not sell my house. Based on this copy, yes, that makes no sense. It may when we see what he intended to do next." The bank responded 4 days later. Patricia called me at the shop. "They produced the remaining file," she said. "Can you come over?" I left Linda in charge and drove downtown. Patricia had arranged the documents across her conference table. She pointed to a transfer record. The $85,000 went into a new savings account opened in your name. I don't have a new savings account. Bradley opened it as your agent. Who can withdraw from it? You and Bradley, according to the account card. How much is left? All of it. I looked at her. He borrowed against my building and moved the money into another account with my name on it? Yes. Why? Because borrowed cash creates a fund he can control. It also creates debt against your shop. She handed me a one-page internal memo. Bradley's name appeared at the bottom. The subject line read, Fleming Transition Funding. I read the first sentence twice. The credit advance will provide temporary liquidity during client's transition from independent residence to managed senior housing. Below that was a list. Prairie Bluff Reservation Deposit, Household Contents Liquidation, Preparation of Walnut Street property for sale, Business wind-down expenses, repayment from trust distribution or real estate proceeds. I looked up. What trust distribution? Patricia slid another page toward me. It was a copy of an email Bradley had sent to someone in the bank's wealth department. Robert Fleming's move will allow the family to conclude the Gayville Trust and distribute proceeds to the named beneficiary. Holly Hunt will coordinate with the trustee. Marie's farmland. Bradley had used my shop to borrow money for a move I hadn't agreed to. Then he planned to repay that debt by selling land that didn't belong to him. Can Holly sell the land? I asked. Not by herself. She's the eventual beneficiary, but the trust still has terms. A trustee controls the property. Can I sell it? Not alone? Then why write this? Because he expects everybody to agree. I don't. He may believe your agreement is temporary. I read the transition memo again. My house, my shop, and Marie's land had all been reduced to lines on one page. The senior living pamphlets hadn't been suggestions. The redirected bank statements hadn't been a precaution. The consultant hadn't been sent to discover whether I needed help. Bradley had already written the answer. He needed a reason to move me. Once I was moving, every sale became easier to explain. What does Holly know? I asked. I can't tell from these records. She knew about Curtis. Yes. She knew about Prairie Bluff. Yes. Does she know about the loan? There's no proof here that she does. Patricia pointed to Bradley's internal memo. This was written for the bank. His authority depended on the power of attorney. He may not have shown Holly. I sat back. Why put the money in an account and leave it there? He may be waiting for the rest of the plan to be ready. The land, the trust, the house, the business, or all three. He can't sell those with this document. No. So he still needs me. Or he needs somebody else to believe you can't decide. Curtis's questions came back to me. The date, the city, the bills I paid, the note that I had refused to complete the assessment. I opened the black notebook and showed Patricia the entry. She read it slowly. Did he identify himself as a medical professional? No. Did you consent in writing? No. Did Holly threaten a competency petition? Bradley did. What exactly did he say? I showed her the next page. Patricia copied the wording. This isn't enough to declare anyone incompetent, she said. A hired consultant's incomplete form doesn't decide your rights. Could they file something? Anybody can file a petition. Winning is different. I had my doctor do a screening. Where is it? Dustin has a copy. Mine is locked at home. Good. Bring it next time. She returned the transition memo to the table. Bradley's problem is timing. The money is borrowed, but he can't complete the sales. He needs broader authority before the bank starts asking why the loan proceeds are sitting unused. Or before I ask. You're already asking. My phone rang. Holly's name appeared on the screen. Patricia said, "Answer it normally." I put the call on speaker, but didn't tell Holly anyone else was present. "Hi," I said. "Dad, are you at work? I'm out. Bradley said you froze the line of credit. I put a hold on new draws. Why?" "Did you know he borrowed $85,000? The silence lasted several seconds. "What are you talking about?" "He drew it against the shop." "No, he didn't." "Yes, he did. He would have told me. Ask him. Are you sure you didn't sign something and forget?" Patricia's eyes stayed on mine. "I'm sure. Bradley said there was paperwork. There was. I didn't sign it. You need to stop accusing him. I haven't accused him of anything to you. I told you what the bank record shows. He's been trying to help us." "With what?" "With everything. The house, Prairie Bluff, Mom's land. There it was. What about your mother's land? She hesitated. We need to settle the trust. Why now? Because it's been sitting there. It's farmland. Sitting there is most of what it does. This is serious, Dad. I'm asking a serious question. Bradley says keeping everything separate is creating unnecessary costs. The lease pays the costs. The land could be sold while the market is good. And the money? It would come to me eventually anyway. Patricia wrote something on her legal pad. I said, "Your mother wanted the land kept in trust. She's gone." The words came quickly. Holly seemed to hear them after she said them. "Dad, I didn't mean it like that." "How did you mean it?" "I mean, she made that decision years ago. Things are different now." "What's different?" "You're alone. The shop won't run forever. The house is too big. We need one plan instead of 5 separate problems." "Whose plan?" "Ours. Mine too." She exhaled sharply. "This is why we need a family meeting. I didn't agree to move. Nobody can keep doing this with you over the phone." "Doing what?" "Getting trapped in one question." I looked at Bradley's transition memo. He had trapped my entire life on one page. Holly continued. "Prairie Bluff has an apartment coming available. It's on the quieter side of the building. Bradley asked them to hold it while we sort out the deposit." "I didn't ask him to." "You don't even know if you'd like it. I know I don't want it. You haven't toured it, have you?" "Yes." "With Bradley?" "Yes." "When?" "Last week. The same week he drew the money." "Did he tell you how he planned to pay the deposit?" "He said there were enough assets." "Which assets?" She became defensive. "Dad, don't interrogate me. Did he mention the shop credit line?" "No." "The farmland?" "We've discussed selling it." "My house?" "Eventually, if you move." "The shop?" "That depends on you." Everything on Bradley's memo had been discussed with Holly. Maybe not the forged paper, maybe not the borrowed money, but the outcome wasn't a secret between them. She believed it was a family plan waiting for my cooperation. Bradley had treated my cooperation as a detail. Holly lowered her voice. "I'm trying to make sure you're taken care of without losing everything to taxes, maintenance, and care costs." "Losing it to whom? What?" "The land comes to you. The house comes to you. Who are you protecting it from?" "That's not fair. It's a question." She went quiet again. Then she said, "Bradley thinks you're going to spend more and more keeping that shop open because you can't admit it's time. The shop pays for itself. For now." There was that phrase again. I asked, "Does Bradley want the land sold before I move?" "He wants the trust settled at the same time. That's why we need mediation." "Mediation between whom? You and us." "The trust has a trustee. The trustee wants family agreement before making any changes." "And you've already contacted a mediator?" "Bradley has." Patricia wrote a name on her pad and turned it toward me. "Clifford McDonald?" I asked Holly. "Who is the mediator?" "Clifford McDonald." Patricia nodded once. "I'll talk to him after I have the documents," I said. "You're bringing a lawyer into this?" "I'm reviewing documents that carry my signature." "Bradley said you'd do that, did he?" "He said once you became suspicious, you'd start spending money on attorneys instead of letting your family help." I looked at Patricia. She didn't react. "When is this meeting?" I asked. "We haven't set the final date." "Then send me everything in writing." "Why are you talking like this?" "Because other people have been writing plans about me." Holly ended the call without saying goodbye. Patricia reached for the transition memo. "Now we know why he stopped with Bank Authority," she said. "It was enough to create money and debt. It wasn't enough to finish what he started. He wants everything turned into cash. He wants the shop debt paid, the trust distributed to Holly, the house emptied, and you placed somewhere he can describe as care. And if I disagree, I'm confused. That appears to be the pressure." I looked at the section listing household contents liquidation. Marie's sewing room wasn't named. It didn't need to be. Patricia placed the fraudulent power of attorney beside the memo. "Bradley still needs one of 2 things," she said. "A court willing to take your decision away, or a new document broad enough to let him make it for you." Patricia turned the power of attorney to the notarization page. "A notary can't simply stamp a document and walk away," she said. "There should be a journal entry. What does the journal show? The date, the type of document, how the signer was identified, where the notarization occurred, and the signer's entry. It should show who appeared in front of Bradley. He'll write that I did. He already did on this page. The journal may show how carefully he prepared the lie. She sent Bradley a written demand for the original power of attorney and the matching journal entry. She gave him 5 business days to preserve and produce both. His response arrived through a bank attorney. Bradley would not provide his journal because it contained confidential information about other customers. He would allow the original power of attorney to be inspected at Prairie first, but only with bank counsel present. Patricia read the letter aloud. He could copy one entry and cover the rest, she said. He knows that. What happens now? We go through the state. She called Wendy Cook with the Secretary of State's Notary Commission Division. I listened from the other side of her desk. Patricia explained that a commission notary had notarized a power of attorney, naming himself as agent. The supposed signer denied appearing. The notary had refused to produce the corresponding journal entry. Wendy asked for the commission number, notarization date, county, and document type. Then she said, "Send me the disputed instrument and the written refusal." "What can your office obtain?" Patricia asked. "We can require production of the specific entry for commission review. We don't need the rest of his customer records. Will the result be certified? If it comes through our examination process, yes." "How long?" "That depends on his response." Patricia looked at me. "Can the notary alter the journal before submitting it?" Wendy didn't answer quickly. A commission notary is responsible for maintaining an accurate contemporaneous record. Any late alteration creates another issue. After the call, Patricia scanned the power of attorney, Bradley's refusal, my motel receipt, and the fishing license. She sent everything to Wendy that afternoon. Then we waited. 4 days later, a woman knocked on my front door shortly after 6. She carried a tablet, a tape measure, and a stack of small adhesive labels. "Mr. Fleming?" she asked. "Yes, I'm here for the estate inventory." "What estate?" She checked her tablet. "Household liquidation for the Fleming residence." "Who hired you?" "Holly Hunt scheduled the walkthrough." The woman handed me a business card. Her company handled estate sales in the Yankton area. "I don't have a sale scheduled." She said the family needed preliminary pricing before mediation. "My family doesn't own this house." "I'm sorry. I was told everyone had agreed to an inventory." "They haven't." She glanced toward her car. "I can reschedule." "No, show me what she sent you." The woman turned the tablet around. Holly had listed the rooms to be evaluated: kitchen, dining room, garage, primary bedroom, sewing room, and cedar chest. My finger stopped on that last line. Did she send photographs? A few. The woman opened an attachment. There was Marie's sewing room. The photograph showed the cutting table, thread rack, and cedar hope chest beneath the window. It had been taken before I changed the locks. Who sent this? Mrs. Hunt. Was a sale date discussed? She asked us to hold the second weekend in February. I looked through the open doorway toward the stairs. The woman lowered the tablet. "Mr. Fleming, I don't want to be in the middle of a family disagreement. You already are. I can close the file. First, tell me what you were asked to price." "Everything that wouldn't go to senior living." The sentence came out gently. That didn't make it better. I let her enter because I wanted to see the list. I stayed beside her the whole time. She didn't place labels on anything. She walked through the kitchen, dining room, and front room while I watched her type notes. Upstairs, she entered Marie's sewing room. She measured the cedar hope chest. "Those can do well if they're in good condition," she said. "It isn't for sale." She nodded and deleted something. On the cutting table sat a ceramic bowl filled with wooden spools. Marie had sorted them by color. The estate saleswoman picked up one spool and turned it over. Vintage sewing items can be grouped into lots. I took it from her hand. "It isn't a lot." She set the tablet against her coat. "I'll close the file tonight. Send me written confirmation." "I will, and send Holly a copy." She nodded again. At the front door, she apologized. I believe she meant it. She had walked into a job based on somebody else's lie. After she left, I called Holly. She didn't answer. I called again. Bradley answered her phone. "Holly doesn't want to argue tonight," he said. "Why did she schedule an estate sale?" "It was an estimate. She reserved a weekend. That can be canceled." "I just canceled it. You didn't have to embarrass Holly in front of a vendor." "Holly wasn't here. She was trying to save time." "Whose time?" Bradley exhaled. "We're approaching deadlines." "What deadlines?" "Prairie Bluff can't hold openings indefinitely. The trust needs mediation. The house needs preparation. The house doesn't need anything. Robert, refusing to plan won't stop reality." I looked up the stairs. "Don't send anyone to my property again. Your daughter has an interest in the contents. Not while I'm alive. That isn't what I meant. It's what you scheduled." He became quiet. Then he said, "The family meeting will happen. You can participate calmly, or Patricia can make it expensive. You know about Patricia. I work at the bank. Her demand came through legal, then respond to it. I did. You refused. I protected customer confidentiality. You protected yourself." His voice hardened. "Be careful." "With what?" "Accusations." He ended the call. I went upstairs and sat in Marie's sewing room. The spool I had taken from the woman was still in my hand. It was pale green, with loose thread tucked beneath one end. The next morning, I brought it with me to Patricia's office. She read the estate company's cancellation email. "They intended to sell the contents before the property issue was settled," she said. "They intended to sell Marie's things before I moved. Are you ready to revoke the power of attorney?" I was ready when that woman measured the hope chest. Patricia had already prepared the documents. The first revoked every power of attorney Bradley claimed to hold, including the one dated in March of 2024. It directed every bank, company, and record custodian to reject further action by him. The second appointed Dustin as my agent if I became unable or unavailable to act. It covered banking, property, contracts, and healthcare. Dustin could not transfer my assets to himself. He could not alter the Gayville Trust. He could not sell Marie's personal belongings without a written inventory and my prior direction. "You added all that?" I asked. "I did." "Good." Dustin met us at the county building. An independent notary checked my identification and watched me sign both documents. Dustin signed his acceptance. "You sure you want me?" he asked. "You're irritating, but you ask first. That should go on my business card." The notary stamped the pages. We took the revocation and the new power of attorney to the Register of Deeds. The clerk recorded both and returned certified copies. Patricia delivered notice to Prairie First's legal department that afternoon. She did not include the Chamberlain evidence. She did not mention Wendy's request. Bradley learned his claimed authority had been revoked. He did not learn what we had found about its creation. That evening, I went home and locked the certified copies in the sewing table drawer. I took the pale green spool from my pocket and returned it to the bowl. Then I went downstairs. There was a bottle of bourbon in the cabinet above the refrigerator. Dustin had given it to me the Christmas before Marie died. It was still more than half full. I poured one glass. I carried it to the kitchen table and sat in my usual chair. I didn't call Holly. I didn't call Bradley. I didn't make a speech to an empty room. I drank slowly while the house settled around me. The following Monday, Patricia called. Wendy received Bradley's production. He turned over the journal, one entry through the state process. "Wendy is certifying it now." "What does it say?" "Come in." Wendy joined us by video from Pierre. Her image appeared on a monitor at the end of Patricia's conference table. She held up the journal page. "This is the entry submitted by Mr. Hunt in response to our production notice," she said. Our office compared it with his journal format from the surrounding period. "Is it genuine?" I asked. "It appears to be an entry from his maintained journal. Whether the information is truthful is a different question." Patricia placed the power of attorney and my travel records in front of me. Wendy enlarged the journal entry on the screen. My name was written on the first line. The date was March 18th, 2024. The location was Bradley's Prairie First office in Yankton. The time was 2:15 in the afternoon. Identification was listed as her South Dakota driver's license. A box for a thumbprint was empty. The signature beside my name wasn't mine. It wasn't even the same false signature used on the power of attorney. On the document, the R leaned forward. In the journal, it stood almost straight. Wendy pointed to the identification field. The entry gives a license description, but not the required identifying number. It also indicates personal appearance without a completed thumbprint field. "Does a missing thumbprint prove I wasn't there?" I asked. "By itself, no. It shows the entry is incomplete. Your other evidence gives that omission importance." Patricia slid the motel receipt beneath the camera. At 2:15 that afternoon, Robert was registered in Chamberlain, and his fishing license was issued there that morning, Wendy said. "We'll include both in the administrative record." Patricia had also sent signature samples to a forensic document examiner. The examiner compared the journal signature, the power of attorney signature, my loan documents, several checks, and the revocation I had signed before an independent notary. His written finding arrived 2 days later. The disputed signatures showed inconsistent letter formation, pen movement, spacing, and finishing strokes. In his opinion, neither disputed signature was written by me. Patricia laid his report beside Wendy's certified packet. The packet carried the state seal and Wendy's certification. "This is the piece we needed," Patricia said. "Bradley's own required record places you in his office when your receipts, your license, your brother, and the dated photograph place you 3 hours away. Does Bradley know you have the certified copy?" "No, he knows the division examined his production. Wendy sent the certified result to us as the complaining party." I touched the raised state seal. "What happens now?" "We preserve it," Patricia said, "and we let him decide what story he wants to tell when other people are listening." Clifford's assistant called Patricia 2 days later. The mediation was scheduled for the following Friday at 9. Bradley had provided a proposed agenda covering the Gayville Trust, Prairie Bluff, household property, and future management of the shop. He added a final item, Patricia said. "What is it?" "Restoration of family financial authority." That sounds better than giving it back to himself. It's meant to. Bradley had also sent Clifford a copy of the fraudulent power of attorney. His cover letter said I had signed it voluntarily in March of 2024, then revoked it during a period of anger and confusion. He described Patricia's involvement as an escalation. He described his own actions as family assistance. "What did Clifford say?" I asked. He said disputed legal documents aren't usually resolved through estate mediation. "Then, why are we going?" "Because Bradley wants an agreement. That means he still needs something you control." Patricia accepted the date. She sent Clifford my recorded revocation, the new power of attorney naming Dustin, and the medical summary showing my normal screening result. She did not send the journal record. She did not send the Chamberlain evidence. Holly called me that evening. "Thank you for agreeing to mediation," she said. "I agreed to attend. That's what I meant." "What does Prairie Bluff have to do with your mother's trust?" "It's all part of the same plan. Bradley's plan. Our plan." "Did you know he borrowed $85,000? She paused. "He explained it." "What did he say?" "He created a temporary reserve so bills could be paid quickly." "Which bills?" "The deposit, moving expenses, repairs to the house." "I didn't approve any of those. He had authority." "Who told you that?" "I saw the power of attorney." "When?" "After you froze the account. Did you ever ask me whether I signed it?" "He showed me your signature. That wasn't my question." Her voice tightened. "Why would Bradley invent a legal document?" I asked whether you spoke to me. "No." "Why not?" "Because you'd already hired Patricia." Everything had turned hostile. "The document is dated long before I hired Patricia." She went quiet again. I could hear dishes being moved in the background. "Dad, I'm not doing this on the phone," she said. "We'll talk with Clifford." "Is Vicky coming?" I asked her to. "Why? She's family. She should hear the plan." "Does she know about the loan?" "She knows now." "From Bradley?" "Yes." "What did he tell her?" "That it was for your care." I looked at the black notebook on my kitchen table. Did she believe him? "I don't know. She won't talk about it." "Then leave her out of the middle." "She's already in the middle. She works at the bank." "Not on my account." "I know that." The way Holly said it told me Bradley had figured out who warned me. "Has he blamed her?" I asked. "No." "Has he spoken to her manager?" "Why would he do that?" "Ask him." Holly sighed. "You think everything is a trap now?" "No. I think some things are questions." "Friday at 9, she said. "Please don't be late." She ended the call. The next morning, Vicky came to the shop before her shift. She stayed near the office door. "Dad knows I told you," she said. "How?" "He said the account activity only appeared at my branch because of the deposit." "Did he threaten your job?" "Not directly." "What did he say?" "That banks take customer privacy seriously." "Did he report you?" "He says he didn't." "Do you believe him?" She looked down. "I don't know." I pulled out the second chair. "Sit." "I can't stay." "Then listen. At the mediation, don't defend me and don't defend him. Pay attention to what everybody says. Mom thinks you're trying to punish them." "I know. She says Dad had permission." "I know that too." "Did he?" I could have told her. The certified packet was locked in Patricia's file. Vicky had risked her job to warn me. She deserved an answer. But if I told her, she would have to sit across from her parents for a week and hide it. Holly might press her. Bradley might question her. I wasn't going to place that weight on her. "Listen on Friday," I said, her eyes filled with frustration. "Grandpa, that isn't an answer. It's the answer I can give you today." She pulled her coat closed. "I hate this." "So do I. I don't know who's telling the truth. That's why you need to hear it, where everyone is responsible for their own words. She left without sitting down. On Thursday afternoon, a courier delivered Bradley's mediation packet to Patricia's office. The packet included a proposed trust settlement. The Gayville parcel would be sold, and the net proceeds would pass to Holly. It included an unsigned agreement to list the Walnut Street house. It included the estate sale company's inventory estimate, even though the company had canceled the file. It included a letter from Prairie Bluff. An apartment would be held for 10 days after mediation. A deposit was required before that period expired. The last document was listed only as authorization form. Patricia called Bradley's attorney and asked what it authorized. He replied that it was a revised power of attorney intended to eliminate future confusion. Did he send a copy? I asked. No, he says he'll bring it to the meeting. He wants me to see it at the table. He wants Holly watching you refuse. I looked at the Prairie Bluff deadline, then let him bring it. Friday morning was cold and clear. I parked behind Patricia's office at 8:30. She carried one leather case. The certified journal record was inside it, along with the travel documents and signature report. Dustin met us near the entrance. Clifford didn't invite me to the table, he said. You're Robert's designated agent, Patricia told him. You can wait outside unless needed. Dustin looked at me. You all right? Yes. You want coffee? No. That answer concerned him more than anything else. Clifford's mediation office was on the 3rd floor. His conference room had beige walls, one narrow window, and a long table with 8 chairs. The tray of bottled water sat near the door. Holly and Bradley arrived together. Vicky came a few minutes later and chose the chair at the far end. Bradley carried a black binder. He set it beside his seat and arranged 3 pens in front of him. He didn't greet me. Holly did. Hi, Dad. Hello, Holly. She looked toward Patricia. Are we really doing this with attorneys? Patricia answered calmly. I represent Robert. I'm also here to help document any agreement. Bradley opened his binder, assuming there is one. Clifford entered at 9. He wore reading glasses on a cord and carried a legal pad. He explained that he was neutral. Nobody would be forced to settle. Everything said during mediation would remain confidential unless the law required otherwise. Then he asked each person to state what they hoped to accomplish. Holly went first. I want Dad safe. I want Mom's trust settled the way she intended. And I want us to stop fighting. Vicky said, I'm here because Mom asked me. Patricia said, Robert wants accurate records and voluntary decisions. Bradley leaned forward. We need closure. Robert's recent conduct has delayed decisions, damaged family trust, and created unnecessary banking problems. I want a complete agreement today. Clifford turned to me. I want everyone to say clearly what they've done and what they're asking me to sign. Bradley glanced at Holly. Clifford started with the Gayville land. The trustee hadn't agreed to sell, but Bradley had obtained a broker's estimate. He said the land could produce enough cash to fund several years at Prairie Bluff, repay the shop credit line, and leave Holly's inheritance protected. I asked, protected from whom? Holly looked at Clifford. This is what he does. He takes one word and turns it around. Clifford raised a hand. Let's stay with the proposal. Bradley moved to the house. He said it should be listed after I entered Prairie Bluff. The contents would be divided into family keepsakes and sale inventory. Who decides which is which? I asked. Holly, he said, with your input if possible. If possible, if you remain cooperative. Clifford wrote something on his pad. Bradley discussed the shop next. He proposed that I appoint a manager and reduce my hours during the transition. I already have a foreman, I said. A foreman isn't a succession plan. Neither are you. He ignored that. Finally, Clifford asked about the $85,000 advance. Bradley sat straighter. That was a lawful draw made under existing agent authority. The funds remain untouched in an account for Robert's benefit. Did Robert request it? Clifford asked. He authorized me to act. That isn't the same question. The power of attorney permits borrowing. Clifford looked at me. Robert, did you request the draw? No, Bradley said. He didn't need to request each transaction separately. Patricia remained silent. I asked, where did your authority come from? Bradley reached into his binder and removed the first power of attorney. You signed this? Did you see me sign it? Yes. Where? My office at Prairie First. When? March 18th, 2024. Was anyone else present? No. It was a private financial meeting. How did you identify me? You gave me your driver's license. Did you notarize it? Yes. Did I appear before you in person? He looked directly at me. Yes, Robert. You sat across from my desk and signed it willingly. Holly turned toward me. There. Can we please stop saying he invented it? I didn't answer. Clifford asked Bradley why a replacement document was needed if the first one had been revoked. Because the revocation was impulsive, Bradley said. The new document is broader and clearer. It covers real estate and healthcare, so we won't keep returning to the same argument. He removed a 6-page document from his binder. Colored flags marked the signature lines. Bradley placed a pen on top and slid both across the table toward me. We've already covered the important parts, he said. This just lets me handle the details. Holly leaned toward me. Dad, please. Prairie Bluff can't hold the room forever. I looked at the first page. Then I looked at Patricia and gave one small nod. Patricia opened the folder beneath her hand. She placed Wendy's certified journal record beside the new power of attorney. Then she added the motel receipt and fishing license. Clifford, she said, please read the notarization date aloud. He adjusted his glasses. March 18th, 2024. Patricia pointed to the motel receipt. Now read the check-in and check-out dates. March the 17th through March 20th. And the fishing license, issued in Chamberlain on March 18th. Bradley reached for the journal page. Patricia covered it with her hand. That's a certified record. You may examine it where it is. He pulled his hand back. Clifford looked between the documents. Bradley, your journal says, Robert appeared at your Yankton office at 2:15 that afternoon. He did. Patricia said, Robert was 3 hours away. A motel receipt doesn't prove where somebody was every minute. You're right, she said. That's why Dustin is outside. Clifford brought him into the room. Dustin stood behind my chair and examined the dates. We were together from Sunday night through Wednesday, he said. On that Monday, we bought Robert's fishing license in Chamberlain. We ate breakfast across from the motel, then went to the river. He never returned to Yankton. Bradley shook his head. He's Robert's brother. Of course he'll say that. Patricia placed the forensic report on the table. The signatures on the power of attorney and journal were compared with verified examples. Neither was written by Robert. Holly stared at Bradley. He avoided her eyes. Patricia turned the certified journal entry toward Clifford. The thumbprint field is empty. The identification number is missing. The journal signature doesn't match the document signature. Bradley's required record proves the claimed appearance did not happen as stated. Clifford looked at Bradley. Did Robert sit in your office on March 18th? I've already answered that. Answer it again. Bradley glanced at the new power of attorney still lying in front of me. He signed voluntarily. That wasn't my question. This mediation is about resolving the estate. No, Clifford said. This mediation is now halted. The room went quiet. Clifford removed his glasses. I cannot mediate an agreement based on authority supported by an apparently fraudulent notarization. I'm referring this matter to the Notary Commission Division and the appropriate bank officials. Bradley stood. You can't make that determination. I'm not making a criminal determination. I'm stopping a mediation and reporting what was presented. You said this was confidential. Confidentiality does not require me to facilitate ongoing fraud. Patricia called Wendy and put her on speaker. Wendy confirmed the state seal, the production process, and the defects in Bradley's journal entry. Bradley leaned over the phone. You certified an incomplete record without interviewing me. We requested your complete entry, Wendy said. You submitted this page as the contemporaneous record. I need counsel. You're entitled to counsel. Effective today, your notary commission is suspended pending the forgery investigation and administrative review. Written notice will follow. Bradley sat down again. His 3 pens were still lined up beside his binder. Patricia then called Prairie First's fraud department. She sent the certified packet while we remained at the table. A fraud manager reviewed the documents and confirmed that the $85,000 remained in the savings account Bradley had opened. We're restricting all agent access immediately, the manager said. The credit advance will be provisionally reversed because the proceeds remain intact. Interest and fees will be removed during the review. What about Bradley's employee access? Patricia asked. His credentials are being disabled pending an employment investigation. Bradley reached for his phone. It lit up before he touched it. He read the message on the screen and went still. Vicky watched him. "Dad," she said quietly, "did you sign Grandpa's name?" Bradley looked at Holly. "I did this for us." Holly pushed her chair away from him. That isn't an answer. He was never going to agree. The land would sit there, the shop would drain everything, and we'd be left cleaning it up. "You told me he signed. He should have signed." Holly removed her wedding ring and placed it inside her purse. "I'm not leaving with you. Don't make a decision while you're upset." She laughed once without humor. "You had a consultant test my father in his own kitchen because you forged his name. I was protecting your inheritance. You were using me to do it." Bradley closed his binder. As he stood, he looked at me. "You've destroyed this family over paperwork." "No," I said. "I read the paperwork." He walked out alone. Clifford ended the mediation without discussing the land, the house, or Prairie Bluff. Nobody touched the bottled water. The bank completed its review within 3 weeks. The $85,000 advance disappeared from the shop's credit line. Every dollar of interest was removed. Prairie First terminated Bradley after finding that he had accepted his own power of attorney into the file, bypassed direct contact with me, and used his employee access to open the savings account. His notary commission remained suspended, while the state investigated the false entry and signatures. Patricia provided the original records to the local authorities when they requested them. I gave a statement. Dustin gave one too. I didn't ask for Bradley to be ruined. I asked for the documents to tell the truth. Prairie Bluff released the apartment after the 10-day hold expired. The estate sale stayed canceled. The Walnut Street house remained mine. Marie's hope chest stayed beneath the sewing room window. The Gayville parcel remained in trust and continued producing lease income. Holly was still the eventual beneficiary, just as Marie intended. I didn't change that out of anger. I moved the shop's accounts to another bank. Linda helped transfer payroll, and my foreman continued handling the floor when I took mornings off. I didn't retire. I did stop pretending I had to prove my strength by working every hour. Holly separated from Bradley that afternoon. She stayed with Vicky for a while and hired her own attorney. She didn't ask me to help with the divorce. I appreciated that. On the evening after the mediation, she drove to Walnut Street alone. I was upstairs in Marie's sewing room when the doorbell rang. I had one of the blue quilting spools in my hand. Holly stood on the porch with her coat unbuttoned. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. She followed me into the kitchen, but didn't sit in Marie's chair. She chose the one beside it. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "Can I still call you?" I rolled the spool between my palms. "You can call. I should have asked you." "Yes. I saw your signature and believed him." "You believed him before you asked me." She nodded. "I don't know how to fix that." "You don't fix it tonight." Her eyes filled. "I helped him bring Curtis. I scheduled the estate sale. I took the bank statements. Yes, I thought I was taking care of you. You stopped checking whether I wanted the care." She wiped her face with her sleeve. "Do you hate me?" "No." "Do you trust me?" "Not with my keys or my accounts." She absorbed that without arguing. "That's fair," she said. "The door was never locked, only guarded. Guarding it was the last thing I had left to do for your mother." Holly looked toward the stairs. "Can I see your sewing room?" "Not tonight." She nodded again. That was where we began, not with forgiveness, not with a key returned to her hand. We began with one phone call a week and lunch at the shop. Months later, I let her help me clean the sewing room. We didn't sell anything. We folded Marie's unfinished quilt and placed it inside the cedar hope chest. Concern can sound loving while it takes away your choices. I learned to watch what people signed, what they moved, and what they did when they thought I wouldn't ask. If this story meant something to you, tell me where you're listening from. Like the video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.